Thank you for joining us this morning, joining us to mark the passing of an exceptional man, a Holocaust survivor who spoke for all of us, for the survivors of the Shoah, for the victims, and for Klal Yisrael, and whose voice resonated beyond the confines of the Jewish community. I thank Rabbi Ralph Kenendi, Chazan Dov Farkas, and the Caulfield Shule board for joining with the Jewish Holocaust Centre today for this tribute. I wish to acknowledge on behalf of all of us the ancestors, elders and families of the Bunwurrung of the Kulin Nation people, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, and at the same time to acknowledge our elders, the Nitzolei HaShoah, our survivors. Please turn off your mobile phones and please refrain from applause during the memorial tribute. There will be 2 readings in Yiddish this morning. English translations appear on the reverse side of the program. The translations will also be displayed on the screen.
Elie Wiesel is the messenger who gives the message of humanity, the message of Jewish life and of Jewish survival, of Jewish activity to the non-Jewish world. He is the Jew who talks to non-Jews. He is the Jew who is giving the Jewish message to people in the world. He's welcome here. We welcome him in our organization. Baruch Hu, Elie Wiesel.
This is what we were trying to do for the last 40, 45 years. You here, I elsewhere. We were trying to share our truth. Our life is sealed. But I'm convinced that it is not too late for our children. That is why we are working with it. That is why we are writing. That is why we are teaching. That's why we are creating this meaningful, important institutions for the children, and not only for our children, for all children. Jewish, naturally, but not Jewish as well. I'm convinced with all my heart and all my soul that if we accept this privilege and burden of pain that is part of our collective memory, somehow children will benefit from it. In remembering pain, they will prevent further pain from themselves and from others.
This place is a special place. It is special because people made it special. Especially atrocious, especially inhuman. In this place of misfortune, malediction, and darkness, a few steps from where we stand now, the history of humanity has stumbled into an abyss of unparalleled deceit, cruelty, and calculated savagery. Here in this place, one could have thought that this was the end of Jewish history. For that was the enemy's goal, the enemy's intent, the enemy's plan, the enemy's program, the enemy's determination to bring an end to the history of a people 3,500 years old. Try to close your eyes and try to listen. Somehow the prayers of the old and the laments of the young, as they were walking in their death, to their death. Try to imagine them as they are still hovering in the air, waiting to be received by the celestial tribunal. Can we imagine what went on inside? Surely you have visited the places here that used to be the crematoriums, the gas chambers, inventions of the 20th century. Don't even try. This place, Auschwitz, Birkenau, did not come down ready-made from heaven. It was imagined by man, conceived by man, constructed and ordered by man, who usurped God's name and his function in deciding who shall live and who shall die. And so, to the nations of the world, we address the memory of our pain and we say, it is here that we all have become orphans. It is here that humanity has lost its innocence. It is here that you must come, be it in thought, if you wish to renounce hatred as a religion and violence as a solution. Remember the killers, and your anger will move you to reject fanaticism, racism, and anti-Semitism. They are a disgrace to whatever human nobility is. But remember the victims, and you will open your heart to compassion. Jewish history has not ended here. It was wounded, but it remained alive. That in this place, we have all the reasons in the world to give up on humanity, but we shall not give up on humanity. And surely we have all the reasons in the world to choose anger, and we shall not yield to anger. Hope is what we all need, and hope is what we can give one another.
My name is Moshe Fishman. I am a Holocaust survivor, and I believe that Elie Wiesel was the voice of the survivors. I believe that he wrote in our names and that he spoke for us. And for those who could no longer speak, the victims of the Nazi-perpetrated genocide. His original language was Yiddish, the mammolution of the most European Jews, and of course the victims. I would like to honor Elie Wiesel, Eliezer ben Shlomo, by reading a brief extract from one of his works in the language in which he originally wrote, in which he remains so precious to so many of us. Liebe Freund, wir geben unseren denkend ein Mensch, welcher wir haben verloren, ein Mensch, was sie gewähnt, der Vorsteher von unserem KZ, ein Mensch, welcher nicht nur durch sein Schreiben, nur durch sein Redes, auch durch Gewissen von der christlichen Welt, was hat passiert in der Zeit von Milchome, in der Ungerechtigkeit zu unseren Menschen, zu unseren Familien und zu uns allein. Sein erster Buch in der Trilogie, welche er hat geschrieben, was es in die Welt hat geschwiegen, geworden begeteilt in 30 Sprachen. In Englisch heißt es Neid. Ich glaube, als er nicht tut, kann andere schreiben, welches ist gelungen zu basen der Welt. Was hat passiert in der Lagerung? Und für die Kinder speziell. Die Kinder, welche kennen lernen die Bücher in alle Sprachen, in alle Länder, welches ist eingeschrieben in das Curriculum von seiner Scholars, von seiner Leiders. Ich glaube, als sein Namen wird bleiben auf ewig verbinden mit der Shoah. Was ich wird gewollt lernen für euch, ist ein Kapitel von einem von seinen Büchern, von seiner Trilogie, Morgen früh, in welchem der Held, der zahlt seine Freund, was hat passiert zu ihm in der Zeit von Milchome und wie soll geworden befreit. Alle Menschzeugen haben sich gewendet zu mir. Gewahrt, ich soll erzählen meine Geschichte. Ich habe aufgeschlungen ein Schluck bittere Tee in aufgewischtem Schweiß für meine Stirn. Mein Leben ist gerettet geworden durch Gelächter, habe ich umgehoben. Das ist geschehen in einer Winterfrühmorgen in Buchenwald. Wir haben gehabt auf sich nur zerrissene, halb zerfüllte Schmattes. In jedem Tag sind Menschen gefallen von Kälte. Vor Tag haben wir zerräuschende Baracken erwarten und draußen in Schnee. A 2 Schuhe, bis die Baracken sind ausgereinigt geworden. Einfach Tag bin ich gewesen so krank, als ich bin sicher gewesen durch Steine draußen in die Kälte, das war mein Sof. Habe ich sich behalten in Baracken, bin ich da raus. Die Jungen von der Reinigungsbrigade haben versteht sich mich gefunden. Mich habe weggeschleppt zum Gehilfsältesten von Barack. Hat sich auf viele nicht die Mühe gegeben, mich auszufragen. Hat darauf gelegt seine Hände auf meinen Hals und ruhig gesagt, ich gehe dich ersticken. Seine starke Lappes haben sich zusammengeklammert auf meinen Hals und ich bin gewesen so schwach, als ich aber viele nicht gehabt, kein Keuer sich zu beten bei ihm. Soll geschehen, was es will, das ist das auf. Ich habe gefühlt, wie mein Blut schlug da raus im Kopf. Mein Kopf ist ausgeschwollen, größer und größer. Ich habe gemisst aussehen wie eine Karikatur. Ich habe gefühlt, der Kopf wird zerschossen werden wie ein übergeblusener Ballon. Der Gehilfsbarackführer hat plötzlich ausgebrochener Gelächter. Hat noch eingekickert und auf mein Pune mit sich zerlacht. Also hat mein komischer Aussehen ihm amüsiert. Von Lachen sind seine Finger auf meinen Hals leus geworden. Hat vergessen, dass hat mir gewollt ersticken und ich bin Nitzel geworden. Ist es nicht zum Lachen? Ich bin Nitzel geworden, es riss von einem Mörders frisch von Humor. Ich habe gemeint, als meine Freund will jetzt nehmen und examinieren meinen Kopf, sie ist zurückgekommen zum normalen Form. Weißt du, als die Größe von meinem Kopf ist keinem nicht gelegen in Sinnen, jeder hat da reingekickt in sein Glustei, keiner hat nicht geöffnet das Maul, nicht zum Trinken der kalte Tee, nicht etwas zum Suchen. Keiner hat mehr nicht gehabt, geheischig, sich zu gribbeln in dem Eifer oder aussehen, treurige Maßes von treurigen Leben. Wir sind gesessen am Tisch, alle versinken in das Schweigen, viel mit dem Reh. Jeden Fartuk in seine Marschubes. Mit der Stamm hat jeder Punkt wie ich sich gefragt, wo es hat bei ihm es geurem gewesen, soll Nitzel werden. Thank you.
Well, I want to, first of all, just to acknowledge and thank the museum, especially and Michael Cohen, for organizing this important morning, and also to say that we at Caulfield Shule, our president is here and I'm speaking on behalf of the Shule as well. We think it's really appropriate that Caulfield Shule, a synagogue that was founded by survivors as a memorial to the Shoah, it is really fitting and appropriate that we join together this morning. Ferdinand Foch said the most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire. Elie Wiesel was a soul on fire. He burnt with a passion and a mission, one which was ignited in a place of fire, the terrible conflagration and devastation that was the Shoah. Out of this fire was born his primary mission, to be a witness, to bear witness, to give testimony, and to create a testament for the future. His was a mission of transmission. And he helped create, in fact, a whole genre of literary testimony, the idea which we are so familiar with today, that so many of you are so familiar with, the idea of telling the story. At the time when he began to do so, it was a time of numbness and disbelief, which seemed to threaten and annihilate all memory. But he found a way. He found a way despite his own struggle with the futility of trying to explain the inexplicable and the powerful urge that there was to remain silent. He met it with his deep desire to articulate the obligation to record, to remember, Zachor. There were others of great talent like Jean Amery and Primo Levi, who succumbed, as you know, to despair. They looked around the world, and Amery thought when he looked around and he saw the attempts to relativize Nazi crimes, anticipation of much of today where they're trying to actually de-Judaicize the Shoah. And Primo Levi, similarly, in his last book, he seemed somewhat disillusioned. Have we, he said, who have returned, been able to understand and make others understand our experience? But Elie Wiesel did not give up. He did not give up, and he said, not only I am writing, he said, because I have no choice. But I think also, as Alvin Rosenfeld has suggested, that Elie Wiesel did not give up because, unlike the other two, he located the source of his energy and the heart of his flame. And if you like, he looked into the heart of his own darkness and he located it there, in the Torah, in Judaism, in that Vizhnitza, that Hasidic tradition of the Rebbe, and he talks about this maybe as a mythical figure, Moshe, the Shamus, in the little shtetl in Siget in Transylvania, who taught him how to probe, how to seek, how to inquire. Questions, he said, possessed power. And the more a man asks, he said, the closer he got to God. And so he lived by that paradox. You know, the paradox that without faith, there are no questions, and with faith, there are no answers. It was that, it seemed, that allowed him to find the meaning that Viktor Frankl had said is so as Viktor Frankl said, was so essential for survival. It was also, as he acknowledged, his writing was a kind of protective function. I want to quote you something he spoke about. He said, why do I write? And he said, I evoke memories that precede my own. I sing a song of ancient kingdoms. I describe swallowed up worlds. I exist by what I say as much as by what I hold back to protect my silent universe. I speak of the world of others. To avoid painful subjects, I explore others, biblical, Talmudic, Hasidic, or contemporary. I evoke Abraham and Isaac so as not to reveal the mystery of my relationship with my father. And he also said in my other books, he said, I try to follow other roads, for it is dangerous to linger among the dead. They hold on to you, and you risk of speaking only to them. And so I force myself to turn away from them and study other periods, explore other destinies, and to teach other tales. I, for one, am grateful. I'm grateful that Elie Wiesel extended his writing, for he lit the lives of countless others. He was one of those, say, souls on fire who lit countless lives through his books, through his writings, through his lectures, through his leadership. I know when I was young, he lit a flame in my young soul. I heard him speaking at Wits University in Johannesburg when I was in my 20s. The hall was overflowing, and my friends and I, we sat on the steps because there was nowhere else to sit, but it could have been a stairway as it were to heaven or to hell. Elie Wiesel was an electrifying speaker, as I'm sure those of you who have heard him would testify too. His survivor, not only with a passion for words, but for justice, and he spoke in that way, kind of often in a type of whisper that reached straight into one's soul. He was an intimate of suffering and a friend of those in pain. And in that quietly spoken but deeply intense way of his, he reminded then his comfortable white audience in South Africa that the Shoah was not only about remembering the past agony of the Jewish people and keeping that memory alive, but also about being present to the distress of all those who suffer from racism and oppression. As he would later say, whenever men and women are persecuted because of their race, their religion, or their political views, that place must, at that very moment, he said, become the center of the universe. And as a young man growing up in apartheid South Africa, his powerful message helped articulate for me my sense of injustice and gave me strength to oppose, albeit in a very small and humble way, to impose the injustice of that society. He taught me, as he said to a young audience later on in his life, remember, whatever you do in life, think higher and feel deeper. Like Moshe, after his encounter at the burning bush, Elie Wiesel was able to discover his voice and confront, like the ancient Nevi'im, like the ancient prophets, he was able to confront power with truth. Deborah Lipstadt has written how he confronted 3 American presidents. He confronted Jimmy Carter, who wanted to change the official number of the show from 6 to 11 million. He confronted Reagan, who was going to lay a leaf at Bitburg, the military cemetery where they had discovered at that time that some SS Waffen had been buried. And then he confronted Bill Clinton at the dedication of the Washington Holocaust Museum, and he said to him, Mr. President, I have been to former Yugoslavia. I cannot sleep since what I've seen. As a Jew, I'm saying we must do something to stop the bloodshed there. And there was a survivor present who said, no one has even entered this place, into the Washington Museum at that time, and it's already sending a message that America has to hear. In Cambodia, when he went to Cambodia during the terrible events there, he went there on a march of solidarity with those who were starving. It was the 18th of Shvat, which was the yahrzeit of his father. And he always made a point of ensuring that he would get together a minyan so that he could say Kaddish at the time, the yahrzeit, for his father. He was out there in Cambodia, outside on the borders with Thailand somewhere, and he somehow managed to find together and get together a minyan and to say Kaddish. And while he was saying Kaddish, he became aware that there was a young man who was standing behind him, and who was saying Kaddish. And afterwards he turns to this young man and he says to him, who are you saying Kaddish for? Are you saying Kaddish for your father? The young man says, no. He says, are you saying Kaddish for your mother? No. And then he says that this young man looked there, said towards the border, towards the frontier, and he said to Elie Wiesel, it is for them, he said. Elie Wiesel writes about this, and Elie Wiesel was too someone who said Kaddish for all of them, for all who needed Kaddish said. He said Kaddish, and yet he gave hope. You know, he may have written about night, and in it his accusations, his burning accusations of God, and those words, I'm sure, etched into me when the first time I read them, and have never forgotten them, and is never shall I forget those flames which consumed my faith, never shall I forget those moments. But at the same time, he said of night that he wanted to show that in the end, that in a sense everything came to an end with the Shoah. Man, history, literature, religion, God. But then he went on to say there was nothing left, and yet we begin with night, because that's how the Jewish day always begins. Vayehi erev, vayehi boker. And there was evening and there was day. The Jewish day begins at nightfall. And night, as we've just heard, was the beginning of a trilogy. It was followed by dawn and day. So paradoxically, even night is not about the end of faith, but it gives birth to a new faith. Elie Wiesel would never again be the frum boy that came from the Vishnitzer, from Sighet. He would always continue to wrestle with God and with God's angels. And one of the places in which he did that, and he wrote in his book called Messengers of God, when he writes about Yitzchak, about Isaac, and he says there, let us return to that question. He says, why was this most tragic of our ancestors named Isaac, Yitzchak, a name which evokes laughter and signifies laughter? And here is why, he says. As the first survivor, Isaac had to teach us, the future survivors of Jewish history, that it is possible to suffer and to despair an entire lifetime and still not give up the art of laughter. Isaac, of course, never freed himself from the traumatizing scenes that violated his life, his youth. The Holocaust had marked him and continued to haunt him forever, yet he remained capable of laughter. And in spite of everything, he did laugh. Elie Wiesel taught us how to live with hope, how to question God, and how to live with questions. He reminded us that we must always take sides, that neutrality only helps the oppressors, and that to prevent, and even at times we may be powerless to prevent injustice, but there must never be a time that we fail to protest. He also tenderly touched us with his insights that friendship marks life even more deeply than love, that peace is our gift to each other, that gratitude is the essence of our humanity. May his blessing, zichro livracha, may his memory be a bracha, be a blessing.
My name is Saba Feniger, and I am a Holocaust survivor. And the poem I wrote after Elie Wiesel spoke in the Melbourne Town Hall on October 1988. He is our brother. Silence permeates the air. On chair's edge, tense, we are waiting. With leaping hearts, anticipating, heads turned and poised, eyes focused on stage, we are seeing a slight figure of a man with sunken cheeks, compassionate, sad eyes. We are watching. No orator like Cicero, no actor living his role, no virtuoso making music. We are hearing messages of truth heard many times. He tells them like no one has ever done before. We are listening to the music of a gentle voice, modulating, inflecting softly, soothing our wounds. We are hearing profound statements told with feeling, simply, unassumingly. We are spellbound. We are proud of the philosopher, writer, peace-loving advocate, worthy ambassador. Known across the world, he speaks with the might of millions of voices. We feel embraced and warmed by his love. He is our brother. Elie Wiesel, we are comforted.
The prayer, written by his neighbor Itzik Mange. Die Tfille, geschrieben bei seinen Schuchen Itzik Mange. Ich will euch tun, die Schich in dem Treuer und kommen zu dir zurück. Also wie ich bin ein Verspielter, und stellen sich vor dein Blick. Mein Gott, mein Herr, mein Beschäfer, leite mich heus in dein Schein, und lieg ich vor dir vor Wolken, verwieg mich und schläfe mich ein. Und rätze mir gute Werte, und sag mir, als ich bin dein Kind, und kisch mir auf in dem Stern des Zeichens für meine sind. Ich hab doch getan dein Schliches, getrugen dein göttlich Lied, sie bin ich denn schuldig, was gramt sich alt betues, Lied mit Jid. Sie bin ich denn schuldig, was gramt sich alt betues, Schein mit Gewinn. In die Bänkschaft, die eibige Bänkschaft, wogelt noch alt sich allein, sie bin ich denn schuldig, der Läupter, was bin jetzt der Schlugen und Miet. Und leg dir weg zu Füßens das Doseke Miederlied. Mein Gott, mein Herr, mein Beschäfer, leite mich heus in dein Schein, ot lieg ich vor dir auf der Wolken, verwieg mich und schläfe mich ein.
על כנפי השכינה במעלבויס קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע ומזהירים אסני שמאס רב אליעזר בן שלמה שהולך ליווי למוי ובעבור שכל הקול הזה מתפללים ביד הזכורת נשמותיי בגן עדן ובגן עדן תהי מנוחתיי לוחם בעל ורחמים ויסתיר סייסר כנפיו ליהוי למים ביצרוי רחיים אס נשמוסוי אדוני הוא נחלוסוי וינוח בשלום על משכבוי ונאמר אמן. שיר המעלות ממעמקים כרוסיכו אדוני אדוני שימו וקולי תהיינו אוזניך קשובויס לכל תחנונוי אם אבוינויס תשמוריו אדוני מי יעמוד כי אם חסליכו למען תבורי כי הביסי אדוני כבשו נפשי ולדברי אבוי יכולתי נפשי לאדוני משיימרים לבויקר, שיימרים לבויקר. יחל ישראל אל אדוני, כי עם אדוני החסד, והרבה עמו פדוס, והוא יפתס ישראל מכל אבונו יסוד.
ישקדל וישקדש שמי רבו. ביום דבחריסה וימלך מלכיסה וחייכון וימכון וחיה לכל בית ישראל בגולב זמן קרוב ואמרו. ישמי רב ומבורך לעולם לעלמי יספוך וישתבח ויספוך וישרומם ויסנסה ויסדור ויסלי ויסלול שמי לקיצ'ו. לאלה ולאלה בכל מכרוסה ושירוסה תשבחוסה ונחמוסה דמירם ביולמו ואמרו. יהי שלמה רבה משמיים וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו. עושה שלום במרומוף הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו. Amen.
To thank those who participated in today's memorial tribute. I want to thank you all for joining us, for joining the Jewish Holocaust Centre and Caulfield Shule, for what I believe is a most fitting tribute to a great man, to an icon. Please join me in concluding with the hope, Hatikva. Olod baleva benima nefesh Yehudi homiya alfate mizrach chadima ayin letzion sophia avdati gvateinu תקווה בת שנות 2000 להיותם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים להיותם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.